Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to take this Footswitch pedal here, and I'm going to make it so that it works compatible as an external Footswitch with the Fractal FM3, or really any of the other Fractal devices. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and stick around. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Fractal devices. They support external foot switching. That's what I'm going to make this into. I'm using this with a Fractal FM3. The FM3 has two external foot switch plug-in options, and each of those, so one, for example, foot switch number 1, it can actually support 2 foot switches for a total of 4, because it goes off of a tip and a ring function. And so that's what I'm going to do to this. Now, if you want to build this yourself, you absolutely can and maybe should consider doing it. I'm using this device here. This is a Analog Endeavors 3-way foot switch I think I bought many, many years ago for some kind of delay pedal. I don't have that anymore, but I've repurposed it several different times, so that's what I'm going to do here. This is just, you can build your own, you need some kind of enclosure, pedal box, any kind will really work. This is what I'm going to work with. This thing comes up with 3 of these soft momentary switches. I only need 2 of them, so I'm going to take one of them out. And then you need to have a 1/4-inch jack that has a tip ring sleeve TRS type jack. So let's get this guy open and we'll get it ready for my build. All right, let's take a look inside this guy and let's talk about how we're going to wire it up. So I'm going to presume that you've got your 1/4-inch TRS jack installed here, and that you've got 2 of these momentary switches installed here on the front. Now, I did some research. These are soft momentary switches. I could not actually tell you if these are normally open or normally closed. But from the little bit of research I did, it actually appears that that doesn't really matter, that either one will work for this purpose. So with the TRS jack, you've got a tip ring sleeve connection. That corresponds to this guy here is the tip, this guy is the ring, and then the sleeve is kind of the body. And that corresponds to a TRS cable. Now, what you want to have happen is the tip goes to one of the switch contacts, the ring goes to the other switch contact, and then each of those switches has 2 terminals. The opposite one goes to ground. So as you can see here, these are my 2 switches. Let's take a look at this one first. It has 2 points of contact. The top one here runs all the way around to this sleeve connection point, which is going to be our ground. That's what you want. Then here is our other foot switch. You can see it also has 2 connection points. It has one of them that also runs to ground. That's what you want. Now, the other open point, this needs to run a wire from this connection to the ring, and this needs to run a wire from this connection to the tip. We've currently got resistors in there, so we're going to take those out and put some just bare wire in. All right, let's talk about the wiring layout now that it's all done. You can see here, these are my 2 momentary switches. Both of those switches have 2 points of contact, or 2 terminals. It doesn't matter which one is which. You have to take one of them, for example, this white wire, and run it here to this connection point. This is my ground or sleeve connection. Then you take the other switch, same thing, take this white wire, that's my ground, sleeve connection right here. Both of these need to be connected together, kind of as a AKA ground. Then our other 2 connections, we've got the tip and the ring. Basically, you want to run a wire from the open switch. So for example, this switch, I'm going to run it over here to this connection point. That's actually the ring connection point right there. Then this other side of this switch, running this green wire here to the ring. I'm sorry, then this other green wire here runs over to the tip connection. So basically, each of these two foot switches has a hot and a ground. Ground goes to this sleeve connection. Then the hot either goes to the ring or the tip connection. Simple as that. Okay, now we are looking at my Fractal FM3. There were a couple things that I needed to do to set this up to work correctly. In the back of the unit, I have plugged a TRS tip ring sleeve cable, which looks like this. You can see it has a tip, a ring, and a sleeve on both ends of the cable. This cable is being plugged into pedal 1, and then the other end is going to plug into the pedal that I just made, the TRS jack of my pedal that I just made. So first, you need to go to Setup. You need to go to this I/O menu, and we need to play around here. I'm on the pedal screen, so if I go page over 2 clicks, I'm on the pedal screen right here. We need to play around with this a little bit, get this to work correctly. So if you go to the top, pedal 1 setup, I need to change this to 2 switches, tip plus ring. I believe its default value is expression pedal. I want it to be 2 switches, tip plus ring. Then down below, under switch 1, tip behavior, I kept it as follow hardware. Then for switch tip 1 polarity, I had to play around with this one a little bit, and I changed it. I believe the default value was normally closed. I made it to normally open. I think that tells me that the switches that I have are normally open. So like I said, you could probably use either. You just might have to make this to match what you have. Then I also went down to switch 1 ring behavior, follow hardware. Switch 1 ring polarity is normally open, momentary make. So those were the settings that I needed to set up. If I exit out of there. Next, so basically I've now configured that my pedal in the hardware here, the in and out, is going to interface properly and do the things that I want it to do. So now there are a lot of things that you could potentially choose to do with your setup, and I'm just going to show you how I've set mine up. So with this current patch, my 3 onboard foot switches work as follows. Foot switch number 1 toggles between some scenes. I've got 3 scenes, so let's take a look at those. The first is clean. If I simply single press, it switches over to a lead scene, which I think changes some settings on the amp to be more gainy, more mid-rangey, and it also activates a delay and a parametric EQ. So if I just tap on that foot switch, it toggles back and forth. Okay, so now that we have this is my foot switch here, I've got the I/O configured and plugged in. Let's take a look at how I've implemented it into my live preset setup. There's a lot of different ways you could do this. This is just one example. So I've got the 3 onboard foot switches. The first one, if I single press, toggles between clean and lead, just changing some scenes. If I press and hold, it activates my ambient preset, or my ambient scene. And then I single tap, I go back to clean. So I like this first foot switch to kind of set my gain staging. Foot switch number 2, I've got it single presses to activate delay number 1, which is a quarter note delay. Turn that on and off, and then press and hold will activate delay number 2. Foot switch 3 is a tap tempo and hold for a tuner. Okay, that's all pretty straightforward. Well, how are we going to use these 2 new foot switches that we've got over here? So I have just chosen to have them to activate effects, bypass on and off. So if we look at my layout of my preset, I've got a pitch shifter, I've got a rotary, I've got a tremolo, I've got a parametric EQ. So I got a lot of other kind of goodies in here that I want to have access to. So I've set it up so that if I single press, it turns on the tremolo on and off. If I press and hold, it does the rotary. So this kind of foot switch number 1 is kind of my modulation. On the right here, if I press it once, it turns on and off my parametric EQ over here at the end for kind of a solo boost. And if I press and hold, it turns on and off my pitch shifter for an octave down. So how did I do that? Well, if we go back here to the main menu, hit Setup. If we go up to FC Controllers, then from here, I go over to Layouts. Now, I'm in layout number 6, which is my live layout. That's the one that I'm tinkering around with. And if I go to Edit Layout, you can see here on the top we've got Tap. If I page over, we've got Hold. So I want to set some values here. Now, I've chosen to basically take 11 and 12 to do the things that I want to do. So I'm over here on the Tap menu for number 11. Now 11 and 12, I've set them both to be Effect and Effect, Bypass, Bypass. Number 1 is Parametric EQ 1. Number 2 is Tremolo Pan 1. And if I hold, 11 is this, and 12 are the same. Effect, Effect, Bypass, Bypass. First is Pitch 1. The second is Rotary 1. So foot switch number 11, when I tap, is turning on and off Parametric EQ 1. When I hold, it's turning on and off Pitch 1. When I tap 12, it turns on and off Tremolo. When I hold, it turns on and off Rotary. Okay? So then, lastly, we need to move over here to stand-in switches. This is where we need to establish what those things are. So right here, we've got FM3, switch 1, tip, and ring. Those are the two that I just set up with this foot switch. I'm on layout number 6, my live layout. And for switch, I've got that as 11 and 12, which is, it says per, actually if I update it right now, you can see 11 and 12, effect bypass. So I know it's kind of a lot of steps and it may be a little bit confusing, but this is just one example of how I've added a lot of value here. One other option that I've considered doing is making this to be a view, increment and decrement. So, you know, if you have several different views that you want to put, this is just one example of a view. I could have these two switches go up a view and down a view. Honestly, the options are pretty limitless and kind of amazing in what you can do. The combination of having a single press and a hold, having the ability to toggle between two different things, the ability to do scenes and individual effects. I mean, the options are really quite limitless. So I'm going to quit this here. I really could go on and on for a long, long time, but I'm going to quit there. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.